forgot to hide myself. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Technical difficulties, don't worry. I remember I
Oh
hide myself on
no.
the one screen, but not this one. Don't worry about it. Anyway. Hey yo stream, welcome to another Homestuck reading. Because our good friend Gunmoony is sleeping and has not woken up ever in the history of the world. We are just reading the Homestuck recaps today. I've got quietly existing Chimma here. Chimma does not want to say hello to you. I've got
No,
the
I'm saying
Zodiac
hello. Hello,
Lord
stream.
Morgan here. No, Chimma, you had your turn.
Hello, stream.
Oh,
We're here.
Hello. And as you can see on the screen, we look a bit different than we did the last Homestuck stream. One of us a bit more than the others. At least on my
Yeah,
end.
Mooney's asleep.
Yes. So
Mooney's asleep. No.
context. Last week I
Mhm.
picked up the VTuber rigging software because I said, you know what, I'm gonna learn it. And then I learned it. And then 5 days ago, I asked my friends, you know what? I want to keep practicing. So like, who who should I make art for in order to keep practicing? And there were some good suggestions. There were some good suggestions from the friends. And then my brain said, wait, you know that really cute troll Morgan made for you for Homestuck? What if we just did him? And 5 days later, 2 days for art, 3 days for rigging, I went a bit feral, and now you have this beautiful guy in front of you. Hi.
Yeah. So if you're looking at the stream, you can see that he is now in live 2D form
I'm
instead
in
of
live
PNG.
2D.
And he's got arms.
I've got an
He does
arm.
have
arms.
arms here.
I have
But on
arms.
my side of the you can see that Mooney is simply sleeping.
He's just sleeping.
Mooney's
Mm-hmm.
sleeping.
How's
Ah,
doing?
okay. Hello, Saffron. Thank you. The lovely sprites were designed by DeZodiacLord, of course, and
Yeah.
me was rigged and art made by my feral ass. I'm glad you could catch us live too. Yay! We're just doing the recaps today just for a fun thing because Gunmoony is non-available,
Sleeping.
sleeping forever, has never woken up a single day in Mooney's life.
Mm-hmm.
We're very glad to have you with us.
Yeah. Welcome in.
What scenes are
But
we
yeah,
in
we'll be
today?
doing recaps. You can catch Oh, no. I know what seems, but it's for me.
Thank you.
But yeah, welcome. And I got little music to play, and we can do things. I also added like my little musics. But yes, turn it over to Homestuck Stream.
So,
Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da,
ta-da!
ta-da, ta-da.
A-H, first year of Homestuck. You ready, Gemma?
Yeah.
I just realized it's gonna be me talking for like 2 hours.
You can split it
So
up, okay?
we might
That is why
we might tag team
we
it.
will definitely tag team
We will
this.
We can
definitely
tag.
tag team it. The Homestuck recap. So this first one is the year of Homestuck, and the second one is between the year of Homestuck and the Trolls, the Act 5, which is surprisingly so much content. Like there's so much content that just gets eaten through in such a short amount of time. Like
Mm-hmm.
I constantly forget
Okay.
what happens in this comic.
Again, 4 acts. 4 full acts going on, and we made it through all of that. Now we're on Act 5. That's why we're trolling.
Yes. Okay. I need my Firefox. Show recap log. Okay.
Okay.
Homestuck began on April 13th, 2009, the 13th birthday of our chief protagonist and future boy Skylark. Just tell me if you want me to click on any of these link chinmas if you don't know what they mean.
I mean, my whole thing is I just want to kind of hover over to see where they lead to.
Okay, so Homestuck
Now,
began the first
firstly,
page of Homestuck on April 13th,
okay.
2009, the 13th birthday of our chief protagonist and future boy Skylark, John Egbert. Boy Skylark leads us to 881, which is the escalator. That's probably yeah, I think that's where he is on. No, he's much further ahead than that on the escalator right now. And of course, John Egbert. John Egbert.
There he is.
3 days prior was supposed to be the day he received the spur beta in the mail, but it was running late. So, 3 days later? Yes, that's John explaining.
You don't have to click on all of this. You don't have to click on all of this, please.
I have to
There's so
click on
many
this.
pages, okay?
It showed up later that afternoon, and after overcoming a variety of domestic adversities, he retrieved the game, along with a birthday present from his internet friend, Dave Strider. We have to look at Dave. We have to. Dave!
Look at him.
Dave.
Dave!
Dave.
Dave himself.
Dave.
John soon established a game connection with another friend, Rose Alone, who spent the day badgering him about playing with her, after unsuccessfully attempting to convince Dave to play. Rose. She, her, baby girl. Upon connecting, Rose was able to manipulate John's environment, move his furniture via cursor, and reconstruct the shape of his room. John was unable to do this to Rose's environment, however. He'd installed the client copy of the beta, and required the server copy for that. The server copy was trapped in his dad's car, along with a birthday package from another friend, Jade Harley. Jade.
Jade.
Gee, baby girl.
Her.
I swear she has more speaking roles soon, Chima.
It's fine, okay?
Don't worry.
Sometimes
She's really
how it
slow to
is.
start up. After Act 5, she really takes up the screen. I promise, I swear. I promise, I promise, I
She just
promise.
sleep a lot, okay? Sometimes you just sleep. It's Moony.
Did you just notice my David Saffron? Don't worry. He's here to warn you about the flashing lights.
Yeah.
He's doing his job.
Technically, there might not be any flashing lights. There's still possibly because we're clicking links. Never
I
mind.
hope not. Anyway. Jade messaged John inquiring about the package. As of this moment, neither her package nor the server copy has been recovered by John. Rose has also prepared a package for John, but had not mailed it yet. It still sits in her room. Dave's package contained the authentic stuffed bunny from Con Air. In addition to allowing Rose to control John's environment, Spur provided an array of devices Rose deployed throughout John's house. These devices, used together, provide a system by which the players could manufacture any item using the code on the back of the item's capsulog card, if they gathered enough grist to pay for it. Later, they would learn to combine item codes to master the art of punch card alchemy, whereby items could be fused together in purpose and design. One device on being activated began a countdown and released an entity called a kernel sprite. The countdown ticked down to the moment John's house would be struck by a meteor, destroying his neighborhood. To escape this demise, John had to use the devices to manufacture a special item that looks like a blue apple and take a bite of it, in order to transport his entire house just before impact to the safety of a mysterious dark realm, where his house would situate itself atop a tall rock column high above a blanket of clouds. This realm is called the medium.
So, my question here was because I can't remember if this was established or not. Why did he have to take a bite of the apple?
That's just how you needed to interact with the item.
Yeah. Basically,
But
to
how-
enter the medium.
Mhm.
Sorry, coughing. Basically, to enter the medium, you have to destroy in some way a certain object made by the machine thing.
Okay.
You know that thing. So
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it
yeah,
happened
yeah.
in John's case that it was bite an apple, but like for Dave, it was breaking an egg, I believe. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. So just
Yeah.
stuff like that.
It had to be destroyed in some way. Okay. It was
Yeah.
not so much that he had to bite it. He just decided he was gonna bite it.
Well, how else do you get rid of
Yes.
an apple?
Smashing it
It's an
real
apple.
hard.
You can't smash an apple.
Yeah, smash. You can smash an apple pretty hard.
You can't smash an apple.
Watch me.
Okay. I'll wait.
I'll do it later. I don't have an apple right now.
Okay. Likely story.
I will buy an apple specifically just so I can show you that I will smash the apple.
Thank you.
Okay.
Before he
Good.
entered the medium, though, John and Rose prototyped his Colonel Sprite with the large Harlequin doll his dad got him for his birthday, transforming the sprite to bear its likeness, including the ways the doll was disfigured via earlier hijinks. It had a slashed eye and one arm, and so too did the sprite. When John entered the medium, the sprite's kernel hatched, thus imbuing all the enemies John and his friends would face with properties of the sprite. The lesser adversaries John faced first, Shale Imps, all wore Harlequin garb. They became more powerful and more radically mutated with each successive pre-medium prototyping. After entering the medium, John's dad was kidnapped by imps. While John was looking for him, he accidentally prototyped the sprite with his grandmother's ashes, transforming it again. This prototyping had no effect on the enemies, since he was already in the medium, and the kernel had already hatched. Instead, only the
I will
sprite was
remember this for
affected.
later.
Remember that for later. Instead, only
Yeah.
the sprite was affected, and it took on the appearance, personality, and memories of his grandmother, becoming Nana Sprite, a game-supplied, albeit customized guide for John. She explained aspects of the game, about Sky residing at the center of the medium, beyond 7 gates floating directly above his house, and about an eternal, timeless war fought between dark and light, one that light was always destined to lose.
Switch here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just tell me when you want me to
Rose,
go.
who'd been having frequent internet connection issues, lost her connection as she tried to lift John's car to retrieve the game and the package. The car fell into the abyss below. A storm caused her house to lose power along with its wireless internet connection. Her laptop was able to run on battery power for a time while she tapped into the wireless signal from the laboratory next door. When her laptop ran out of power, she had to overcome more family strife and endure a gift pony in the process. Go outside in the rain and plug it into the small generator outside the mausoleum of her dead cat Jasper's. She continued her session with John inside the mausoleum while the meteor sparked forest fires surrounded her house, grew more intense. From the house, Rose's mom opened a secret passage in the mausoleum to help her escape. The passage led to the lab next door, where Rose found a stable, portable source of power, and internet for a computer. She also found a terminal projecting the impact times and locations for the millions of meteors presently bombarding the planet, along with all the other live sessions of other players around the world. She also found a little girl's room, a mutant kitty she named Vodka Mutiny, and a cloning machine operating through the science of ectobiology. Its terminal was locked onto her cat's Jaspers at whatever point in its life the user specified. She attempted to purify Jaspers from a moment in her early childhood before he whispered a secret to her, but doing so would have caused a paradox, so it purified slash paradoxified a pile of slime instead. The machine used the slime to create a fetal paradox clone of Jaspers in a glass tube. On the monitor, Jasper told young Rose the secret, then vanished, only to show up dead weeks later and put in the mausoleum for years until the present. Rose left the laboratory moments before it was destroyed by a meteor impact. She transportalized back to her mom's room, proceeded to her room to wait for Dave to connect with her and rescue her from the next imminent impact. Dave was charged with acquiring his bro's copy of the game to help Rose. Earlier, he had lost his copy of the game to a mishap involving a crow. It flew in its window, seized the game, and Dave accidentally impaled it with a sword, sending this crow and the game out the window onto a landing far below his apartment. He searched his bro's room, unable to find it, but was briefly shadowed by a little cow, and then found a note beckoning him to meet on the roof for a confrontation. Dave and his bro drooled on the roof extensively, and Dave was thoroughly bested. Upon defeating Dave, his bro dropped the copies of the game and flew off on his rocket board into the sky. Dave used the copies to connect with Rose and quickly deployed the devices while her house was on fire, surrounded by flaming tornadoes and minutes away from being destroyed by a meteor. Rose prototyped her kernel sprite with Jaspers, specifically to understand the meaning of the secret he whispered to her years ago. She was advised to do this by Jade, who told her about the game in the first place. Dave then prototyped the kernel sprite again with the tentacled princess doll given to Rose on her birthday by her mom. Both of these prototypings would have an effect on the enemies once Rose entered the medium and the kernel hatched. Rose used the alchemizer to create the special item for her, a purple wine bottle, which she needed to break to enter. She eventually did, transporting her house just before the meteor collided. The meteor left a crater. Over time, at the site of the impact, a large white structure that looked like a wine bottle grew there, and the crater filled up with sand as the climate of the post-apocalyptic Earth gradually changed. The cork of that bottle was a large metal cylinder with an interior much like an advanced science station, with a variety of devices and monitors inside. 413 years after the meteor impact, 413 as in 413, the day Homestuck
Homestuck
started.
Day.
Homestuck
Yeah.
Day,
413 is a pretty common number for
Mhm.
this.
pretty common number. It's so common I remembered it,
Mhm.
which I guess isn't really that surprising. But theoretically. 413 years after the meteor impact, the wayward vagabond walked through the desert and discovered the station. Inside, he found canned rations, a firefly he named Serenity, and a purifier, and 4 monitors hooked up to a keyboard. On one of the monitors was John. Just after he entered the medium, WV could type commands to John directly, much as the readers of the story could type commands for the characters to follow. Most of John's actions upon entering the medium were authored by WV until he became preoccupied with other activities, such as building a town of cans, playing chess with cans, and drawing chalk murals depicting the cosmological arrangement of Skya, the medium, the light and dark planets known as Prospect and Durst, and the 4 planets the kids would each occupy upon entering the game, called the Land of Wind and Shade, John, the Land of Light and Rain, Rose, the Land of Heat and Clockwork, Dave, and Jade's planet, which is yet to be seen. He also activated a countdown in the station, which caused it to blast out of the crater and fly to designated home coordinates. Along the way, it passed through the sand-filled crater that was the impact site for John's meteor on the other side of the continent. John's meteor had caused a giant white tree to grow in the crater. The tree grew an apple-like station from a branch which fell to the sand. The Peregrine Mendicant found this station. After WV flew overhead, PM activated her station's homing feature as well, which caused it to fly to the same destination. Along the way, she used her terminal to attempt to command Jade, who, from the perspective of the terminal, had just arrived in the medium. This caused the terminal to explode for unknown reasons, leaving a hole in the station. One of the station's robotic worms recovered one of the PM's falling mailboxes, and she befriended it after earlier throwing another one with her black razor sword. Okay, so from what I'm understanding with that, there's like this backstory of like, okay, because the wine bottle was WV who found it, which meant that because Rose controlled where John was, WV could talk to John. Whereas, while John made that apple, which turned into the apple tree, which turned into the apple station, PM was able to talk to Jade.
Yeah.
So that will continue for the other ones. That like thing, because John is going to control Jason eventually. Yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Yeah. This caused the terminal to explode for unknown reasons, leaving a hole in the station. One of the station's robotic worms covered one of PM's flaying Molexes, and she befriended it after earlier slaying another one with her black razor sword.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to switch up
Yeah.
now?
Sure.
Yay. WV landed at the site of the ancient frog ruins across the now dried up Pacific Ocean. The site was once the island where Jade lived, but nothing of the island remained except for the ruins. The mountain her house was on and the volcano next to it were replaced by a large empty chasm. PM landed shortly after WV and they met. They were confronted by the aimless renegade who'd fired at them from the frog ruins with old weaponry he'd been hoarding, once belonging to Jade's grandpa. Millions of years ago, the frog ruins grew from the crater, struck by a meteor that emerged from a spur portal in space. Jade's radioactive, omnipotent, space warping dog named Beckerel emerged from this crater as well. Yeah. Jade's grandpa pioneered this island and built the house Jade lives in. Her grandpa has been dead for many years and stands stuffed in front of the fireplace.
So many years.
So
Normal
many
girly
years.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you do.
It's what he would have wanted, as we know.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
She's been looked after by her dog, who she calls Beck. She begins the day with several tasks to accomplish: to feed Beck and to retrieve a birthday package mailed by John. She irradiates a stake and heads outside to the site where the package will be dropped. She knows it will be dropped there because one of the reminders she wears on her fingers jogs her memory about it. She wears them to keep track of the many things she knows about the future through dreams. She falls asleep frequently and spontaneously. When she sleeps, her dream self is awake and living on the moon that orbits the light planet Prospit. Prospit very closely orbits Skya, a huge sphere of blue sky and clouds, which Nana describes as a dormant crucible of unlimited creative potential. When Prospit's moon eclipses Skya, it drifts into Skya for a time, mingling with the clouds. Dream Jade then witnesses many past and future events in the clouds. While asleep, she is often confused about what is real and what isn't. When she wakes up, she pieces together future events from her memory of the cloud visions and from logs recorded by her dreambot. Her dreambot is a robotic surrogate that activates while she sleeps in her bed. It mimics the real world, the movement and actions of her dream self on the moon, and records a video log of what she sees while dreaming. Prospect's moon has two towers of identical design and similar design to Jade's house. Dream Jade lives in one tower. Dream John lives in the other. Dream John is still asleep, and John has no knowledge of the dream world, which is to say, the entire game session he would initiate on his 13th birthday. When he goes to sleep, instead of waking on the moon as Jade does, he remains slumbering in his dream room, tormented by his subconscious. This torment is expressed when he sleepwalks and draws troubling scribbles on the walls of his room. When awake, he cannot see the scribbles, as his subconscious, as his subconscious suppresses his awareness of them, and it is not until he has a perception-altering revelation about his dad does he begin to see them. He initially believed they were new additions to his room, perhaps scrawled by imps. However, they were present long before, visible in his room while he prepared Jade's birthday package months ago.
Drink.
Drink. Make sure you stay hydrated.
My turn?
This is hydrate.
Hydrated.
Hydrate.
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 Okay.
John prepares a package for each of his 3 friends, whose 13th birthdays were December 1st, Jade, 3rd, Dave, and 4th, Rose. He gave Rose a knitting set. What? Tell me the funny.
No,
Yes.
because they're all just in December, and he's just on the opposite side and calling it a day.
Yeah. They mentioned that.
Yeah, I know. I forget. Sometimes you forget about these silly little facts. Like,
It's
technically, if you're going by this, then that means theoretically John should have been December 2nd or something. So that way it's first, third, or second, third, and fourth. Because, but like, specifically,
No.
not the second.
No, I have
So
to.
it's like,
I have to share something to make my joke work in the internet.
Okay. But like, that's very specific. And as we know, this game has decided a lot of things beforehand. To things that are, hey, these are not specific anymore, and these are very clearly clues to other things. So it's like, to be able to talk to John and to, all that. So it's like that. There's got to be a meaning behind this. I do not know it yet, but there's gotta be.
Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you're just an Aries and all your friends are Sagittarius.
Yeah.
That's just it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes,
Sometimes.
but other times. Other times your friends are all over the place.
Yeah.
Like you have a friend who's a Virgo, a friend who's a Gemini, and a friend who's a Pisces.
Yeah.
Man.
And
He gave Rose a
then you
knitting
suffer.
set, and you suffer. Mhm.
Hmm.
He gave Rose a knitting set, and she then took an intense interest in knitting. He gave Dave the pair of shades Ben Stiller wore in Starsky and Hutch, which he wore from then on, replacing the shades in the style his bro wore. He gave Jade a blue version of his own ghost shirt and some pumpkin seeds to help her replace the pumpkins that keep disappearing from her garden. But she did not receive this on the birthday John intended. She received it in the past on her birthday when she was very young, causing her to take an interest in gardening in the first place, to take a liking to the blue apparel, and to eventually befriend John over the internet and lead him, Rose, and Dave down a path where they would ultimately play this game together. Jade did the
Time shenanigans.
time shenanigans.
Time shenanigans.
Hide the time shenanigans from Moony's sleeping gaze.
See, Mooney didn't have a problem with the time shenanigans. It was me who had the problem with the time
No,
shenanigans because sometimes it made sense, but sometimes it was just way too out of order for me to comprehend what was going on.
there's some time shenanigans, Gemma. I'm very sorry for Act 5. It's a
Fair.
mess. We cannot keep a consistent timeline over there. Don't worry about it. Things are happening so.
Suffering in the future,
I'm
in the
so
future and the past,
excited to
right
get to
now.
the fucking stupid
Cinema.
chat logs
Cinema's
where
just
it's
a
past and futures and current people.
Cinema is gonna be that one meme of Squidward that's just like future.
Future. What is future Cardcat talking about with past Cardcat and present Cardcat and past Cardcat 2? And come on, guys, don't get future Cardcat 3 in here. Let's stop. No.
Oh no! Suffering in future and past and present right now. This is
Yeah.
what you did.
It's gonna be a
So
mess. You're
funny.
gonna love it. I promise.
If you say so.
I promise. It's gonna be great.
We do say so.
You do say so.
If you say so.
I will allow for nothing else to happen. You will love it or you will die.
There is so much time shenanigans in this
So
game,
many
and it's
shenanigans.
okay. Because, hey, if Mooney could deal with the Midnight Crew, I can deal with time shenanigans.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to do it for Mooney.
You have to do it for Moony.
You have to do it for Mooney.
Jade did retrieve his package in the present as planned, but immediately took it to another location where it disappeared. WV in the far future purified it from the location on accident. The package contained further instructions for him. He was to bring it to PM, and she was to use her station's sendificator to send it to another place in time. After she did this, the package appeared in front of young Jade on her birthday. Jade orchestrated the sequence of events through knowledge of them by her cloud visions. She orchestrated similar
I'll start
events with.
here.
Hmm?
Okay.
Yeah, one more, and then you
You
can
continue.
finish.
Mm-hmm.
She orchestrated similar events for the package she sent to John, plotting this
Circuitous.
circuitous route through time and space it was meant to follow. She again utilized the exiles for help, while they were still in the medium. The exiles WV, PM, and AR were all formerly agents of the kingdoms before they were exiled by some means to post-apocalyptic Earth. AR, as an authority regulator in the land of wind and shade, discovered the package and the beta copy in John's wrecked car as he gave it a parking ticket. PM, working as a parcel mistress, recognized the package from a correspondence she had with Jade on Prospect some time ago, and recalled it must be delivered to John. AR would not relinquish the package, though he did give her the beta, which she delivered to into a Pisces to satisfy the carved request of the mini tablet. John carved this tablet at the request of PM through the command terminal in the future. Time shenanigans.
AR brought the package to Durs, where it ultimately wound up on the desk of Jack Noir. Jack is the archagent of the Dark Kingdom, charged with overseeing affairs through his office's fenestrated wall portals and processing paperwork. He is forced to wear a silly garment in keeping with prototyping themes by the Black Queen, an order he resentfully complies with. He oversaw the imprisonment of John's dad, who broke loose on multiple occasions. When Jack went to handle it personally, John's dad set Jack's hat on fire. In a surly act of gratitude, he released the prisoner. John's dad fled to the land of Wind and Shade, fought large monsters, got his hat dirty, and lost his shoe. He then carved tablet requests for new ones, which John filled via Pixis, unaware of who requested them. PM followed AR to Durst in hopes of retrieving the package. After wandering around, she encountered the Black Queen on her throne. Both the Light and Dark Kingdoms each have a king and a queen. The queen sit on a throne on Prospect and Durst respectively, ruling the planet. The kings command armies on the battlefield, located at the center of Skya. The queen takes on the attributes supplied by the prototyping to the four-orbed ring she wears. When the ring is removed, the queen is restored to normal. PM showed the BQ a parking ticket she was pretending to deliver. The PQ directed her to Jack's office where the ticket should be filed. PM met Jack and asked for the package. Jack proposed a deal and gave her a black Regisword. If she would kill the White Queen and the White Queen and bring him their crowns, he would give her the package. She accepted with little alternative. She then visited the White Queen on Prospect and explained the situation, with no intention of carrying out Jack's mission. The WQ, understanding the futility of their situation and the need to recover the package, abdicated and gave PM her crown and her ring. PM was instructed to go find the White Queen, retrieve his crown, and receive further instructions on what to do with the ring to protect it. WQ would then eventually exile herself to post-apocalyptic Earth. On post-apocalypse Earth, after AR fired on WV and PM from the ruins, he spotted WV's pumpkin, which WV had earlier purified from Jade's house. He recognized the carving of Beck's silhouette on the pumpkin. Fearful of it, he surrendered. The three exiles soon became friends over a campfire and shared rations. WV and AR built Exile Town out of cans, mailboxes, and bullets. PM operated WV's station terminal to submit commands to John as he explored the land of wind and shade. In the sky, another station teleported and fell to the ground. It was shaped like an egg and originated from Dave's meteor impact site and corresponded with the egg-shaped item he would use to enter the medium. Emerging from this station was the Windsept Questant, formerly the White Queen.
You're doing great.
AR and WV.
You're doing great.
Do
Yeah.
Thanks. AR and WV sought to impress WQ by crafting a crown for her out of a mailbox. She refused the distinction, instead giving it to PM, who had successfully completed her mission to deliver Jade's package to John in the distant past. The means by which she went about this have yet to be seen. John entered the land of Wind and Shade, Lois, by having Rose build up his house to the first gate, which I have another question about that, because this is a question that I'm going to assume will be answered later on like why things have specific names for things, because you were very insistent about it when you guys were talking about it earlier. On like why it had to be specifically this kind of acronym.
What do you mean?
When you were talking about like what each of our lands would be, right?
No, that
How
was
you're
just
like, oh no. Okay,
they don't.
never mind. It does
They
not
do
have to
have
be.
they do have reasons. Like the lands are thematical in a certain way, but not that strictly.
Yeah, no. Like
Okay.
the
Fun and
like
saying the
John's
acronyms
is the
route.
land of wind and shade because it's a very dark world and very windy, and he's a windy boy.
He's a
Rose
windy
is
boy.
the land of light and rain because it's very rainy, and she's a light girl. Dave has the land of, is it fire and gears or like lava and gears?
I think it's heat and clockwork. I'm
Heat
pretty
and
sure.
clockwork, yeah, and clockwork refers to time shenanigans, and the heat is it's lava everywhere. And
Okay.
Jace you haven't seen yet.
Yeah, Jades we haven't seen yet for various reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also says so down at the bottom. James Planet of the Land of Heat and Clockwork. Oh heck, okay. Okay, so they didn't have like specific reasons on why they were called this. It was just more of
Not
like, yeah.
specific reasons, just like more thematic reasons.
The theme
So
was
the ones we
Land
were
of
talking
Blank and
about,
Blank.
yeah. the ones we were talking about, we had very thematic reasons for. Like I wanted to include Murph in my one because I love clowns, but I also had to smack in the the hope aspects with the angels. So mine is what, Murph and Celestials, Lomac.
Yeah, I think that's what we
Yeah,
said.
and for Moonies we went with sea and slimes for obvious reasons, slimes, and then the sea is the endless expanse of possibilities out there.
Yeah, okay,
The
okay,
And I
okay.
endless
think
space that is the.
Morgan's was either Fields and Stars or
I
Fields and
think that's what we said. Fields and
Constellations.
stars. Yeah, I
One
think
of
fields and
those.
stars.
Yeah, Field for the life aspect, and the stars for he's a Zodiac man.
The ZodiacLord. Hey.
God, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I forget what we
And
said
I do
initially.
not remember what mine yours.
Staring at you.
Staring at
I think
me.
this was. What did we say? It was like
I'm. I don't remember, but I'm going to assume one of them was yarn. Presumably,
probably.
maybe. Shrugs.
Stares at myself. I think it was another S one
Probably.
or another
Yeah.
C one. Something. No, mine was the C one. I know it was an S one. Stares at you.
What
I
did
think
we
it was
say?
yarns and space.
Space and yarn, maybe.
Space and yarn. Can't remember. Well, we'll
Space
take
and
yours
yarn,
back to the
space and
workshop.
string. Yeah.
Okay. Back to the workshop it goes.
I don't remember
And
what we
then this
workshop
time
your
you
other one.
hear
We'll go back to
written
your
down.
workshop eventually.
I don't think it was space though, because with space that means you're actually just completely just saying the aspect in it instead of like,
Yeah, you are
implying.
though because Rose's aspect is light, and she's from the
Oh,
land
never
of light.
mind.
Mhm,
Sometimes they're vague. Sometimes they are directly what it is. It's just
mhm,
That's fair.
literally, honest to God, the names are usually picked like they are thematic, but a lot of times the words I think is just whatever sounds the most pleasant.
mhm.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
You'll see it more
Anyway,
when we get
so
to the actual trolls worlds.
Yeah, and I do
yeah,
think they also have to end up being like stuff that can be translated in a literal vision sense. So, for example, angels is often used as the stand-in for hope because in the land of something and angels, you can physically put angels in the world, but if you say it's the land of something and hope, there's no way to actually
Yeah.
physically
I think
portray hope.
Eridan's is like the land of like walls and hope, or the land of stone and hope. Stone and
No,
walls and
no, yeah,
angels.
stone and angels or something like
Yeah,
that. It's
stone
I'd
and
have to go
angels.
look, but yeah, it's something and
It's
angels is
very
what Eridan is.
parapets and like castle themes, and the angels are assholes.
Yeah.
yeah, okay, okay.
So yeah, no, sometimes they are just literal. It's just usually whatever
Yeah,
translates better. Like like breath, for example. Like breath is wind, but breath doesn't sound probably as nice as wind does. So,
yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, yes, there is theming to it, but this one's not that strict. Don't think too hard about it.
Will do. We've just thought way too hard about it. just
It's okay. It's fun to think about.
It's fun to
It's
think
fun to
about
it
study.
is,
like
and
what
that's
kind
why
of
I have
themes you got.
questions.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, I will continue now.
Wow, who did that?
Who did
Oh,
what?
Shimmer, you fucking scared me, bitch. Oh,
What did Shima do?
Shimmer threw a
um,
bunch of plushes at my head, you bitch.
Oh my god.
That scared me.
okay, let me take a drink of water now because I'm half too hard.
Have a drink.
Get a big sip.
Okay, I have sipped. John entered the land of wind and shade, Loas, by having Rose built up his house to the first gate, fighting through many imps and ogres with his powerful new alchemized weapons, and entering the gate. This took him to a location beneath the clouds, far below his house. The Loas turned out to be a large, windy planet full of dark terrain, incandescent trees, network of pipes, and oily rivers. In addition to hosting more powerful adversaries, this land is occupied by friendly consorts, a race of salamanders. They help John understand the mythos of the land and inform him of the planet's persecution by a sleeping denizen, which is responsible for clogging the pipes with oil and trapping fireflies under the clouds. Each planet has a sleeping denizen, where the players must first wake and then kill in the course of their journey through the seven gates. Rose's planet, the land of light and rain, Lolar, is a multicolored ocean planet with white sandy islands and pink ruins, and it has a denizen responsible for killing all life in the water. Dave's planet, the land of heat and clockwork, Lohak, is a lava planet covered in industrial steel frames, structures, and turning gears, and has a denizen of yet unknown qualities. Killing the denizen releases a huge griswold buried at the core of the planet, which is then used to fuel a process known as the ultimate alchemy. Along the way, the kids are meant to learn about their destined roles in this quest as a Heir of Breath, John, Seer of Light, Rose, Knight of Time, Dave, and Witch of Space, Jade. Over the course of their quest, the Dark Kingdom will in, innovi-
Inevitable.
it's inevitable. I know inevitable. I can't just say
Inevitable.
the Y at the end.
Inevitably, yeah.
Inevit-
We're all dyslexic here.
inevitably. No, I just hate this word specifically because there's too
Yeah,
many
it's
vowels.
so
Inevitably defeat the Light Kingdom. The Black Queen and King will take control and initiate the reckoning. It affects a belt of meteors called the Veil, which orbits far from Skia between the four planets and Durs, and is host to various lab faculties used by the kingdoms. The reckoning causes the meteors to descend on Skya, ultimately destroying it, unless the Black Queen and King can be defeated in time. Skya, however, buys time by opening defense portals to catch many of the meteors, redirecting them elsewhere in space and time. This is the generic template for the way this game is supposed to proceed. It can deviate from this model, however, depending on the actions of players, and the details of the game's mythology presented is unique to each group of players in their session. Long before John and his friends started playing the game, another group of players had been persistently trolling them, particularly Jade. They are furious about an action she will take that will cause major problems in the 4Kids game section, and inevitably lead to their defeat. Specifically, John will send a package to John, apparently containing a powerful weapon he will need later. But the package winds up in the hands of Jack Noir, leading to dire consequences. They allude to other things she will do that will lead to not only trouble for the 4Kids, but the troll players as well.
I haven't actually seen it.
So,
How did that happen? Stairs.
I don't
the
remember.
package? The package
Oh,
is
the
the birthday
package,
gift.
yeah. So.
Yeah, the package. So
Oh,
that was the whole
it's
problem was
the
because
I
that's the
Mr.
whole time thing.
Bunny.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
god,
yeah.
it's the bunny. The fucking robot
Yeah.
bunny of mass
It's the
destruction.
bunny in the
It's the
box.
bunny.
So the whole reason why the game worked was because Jay was like, yeah, I have to remember to send this is my birthday gift. And because the birthday gift gets lost, he's like, we got to make sure he actually receives this gift. And so instead, Parcel Message grabs the gift, has to kill the White Queen and Queen, which then leaves them to take over. But then also leaves Jack Moore to like, hey, yeah, now that they're dead, I can just kill the guys on my side and take over really easily instead of them having to be defeated by the other team. And that's what causes the
Actually,
whole problem here because of the package.
no.
Look
The
at you
thing that
paying
causes the
attention.
whole problem is that Jack Noir really fucking hates the Harlequin outfit.
Yeah.
He hates it so much, he decides to go scorched earth to the nth degree about it.
Yeah.
He's so
Don't you hate it
mad.
when that happens?
It's so funny that like everything that's gonna happen post Act 5 onwards is because Jack Noir hates clowns and harlequin bullshit. It's so fucking hilarious. I love it so much.
It's true.
Okay. Hey, Mimsy, welcome in. So, people going from right to left is obviously me. You got the Zodiac Lord there in the green. Moony is currently asleep, so they have been replaced with Dave at the moment. And we've got Letters of Sky there on the other side.
Hello, Minty.
Yeah.
Elementary.
We're in our little troll forms. And Letters specifically
Yay.
rigged a whole troll model, and we stare at
In
them.
5 days.
5 days. In 5 days. Anyway, but yeah, we're doing a little recap of it, and we're going through. And as you can see,
It's just very
classic.
funny to me that like 8 days ago I sent the first whip of like, hey, I'm learning I'm learning how to rig VTubers. Yay! And now today, and then yesterday I finished up and exported this guy.
With expressions. To be clear, with
With
expression.
expression, with multiple expressions.
With multiple
No.
toggles. Let me. Do I have my number? Yes, with
I can't believe a
multiple
design I made became a
toggles.
VTuber. This is so cool.
Yes.
But yeah, we're
Sometimes
doing.
you're just a little fuckboy and you're feral and you might have had a mania episode for like 5 days straight, but don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's okay.
Don't worry. No letters were harmed in the making of this VTuber model. I
And that's the
promise I
important
will
part.
take a break before I touch another one. I promise, I swear, I am not lying to you right now. I do not already have plans and
Uh-huh.
machinations. I promise I am a good boy. I am
Really
a
good
good
boy.
boy. Don't listen to
Yeah.
Morgan's songs. I'm a good boy.
So many plans and machinations.
I am absolutely in
I'm
shambles, but
unhung
fine.
because I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah,
I'm a good man. I am a good man. Yeah. Believe me.
Mimsy said, for some reason, I removed green blood trolls are almost always female with the extreme rare dude. But I remember these facts from the high swap game and how purple blood trolls are all ICP fans.
Yes. Insane campuses. And yeah, most of the J Bloods are like designated female, but that's mostly because like the Jade Blood role is like gendered,
The
very
mother.
gendered stereotypes to be the nurturing
The all
motherly
mother.
ones. And they're
We'll
all
get there.
repressed in religiously social
Yeah.
ways. They are the freaks. All
I
Jade
love
Bloods are the repressed emotional freaks, I promise. They're all freaks.
really good. I love Kanai so much. I love her with all my heart.
He's such a good pro. That'd be fun to do after the Homestuck if we still want to do more Homestuck, just like read through Hive Swap together. The friendsim.
Yeah.
Again,
Yes.
we have so much we can go
We
through.
have so much
So
Homestuck.
much. It will never end.
And then see, sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes you just remember random fandom facts, and that's just your brain, and that's
Yeah.
the brain process you have. Okay. But yeah, continuing.
You want to read this paragraph and then
Jade
we'll
will
switch
send.
off?
Sure. Okay, Jade will send a package to John, apparently containing a powerful weapon he will need later. But the package winds up at the hands of Jack Noir, leading to dire consequences. They allude to other things she'll do that will lead to not only trouble for the four kids, but the troll players as well. The trolls consist of 12 kids from an alien planet who went through the same process as John and his friends, escaping from the annihilation of their planet via meteors and into the museum to play the game. Their game session is entirely separate from that of the kids, or the four kids. It has the same basic template for its own Gaia, Prospect, Durst, and Vale, and a planet for each troll, but separate game instances of these. They also have different instances of the same character template, such as the King and Queens, and agents like Jack Noir.
The trolls have completed their game session with yet unknown results. They now reside on a meteor in their veil, sitting at terminals trolling John and Co. From their terminals, they can choose any point in the past or future of the kids to troll and observe what they're doing at that moment. As a group, their only stated objective is to harass the kids, which they do so haphazardly throughout different points in the kids' timeline. Though they can choose any point in the kids' timeline to talk, they are mostly resigned to the understanding that no matter what they do, they can't change the outcome of the kids' actions. The four most vociferous trolls have
Uh,
so far have been, I don't care how that word is supposed to sound now, I've decided it's vociferous.
voice first.
Vociferous, thank you. Have been Carcinogenicist, Gallows Calibrator, Grim Oscillatrice, and Adios Torador. Yes! Carcinogenesis, Gallows Gallows Calibrator, Grim Oscillatrice,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
of course my boy, Adios Torador. They're all so good. I love them.
And he says the third game is still being worked on and progress was shown last year, and High Swap is Homestuck without it being super edgelord in its writing.
The other 8 trolls being Apocalyptic Arson, Twin Armageddons, Arsenic Catnip, Arachnid's Grip, Centaur's Testicle, Terminally Capricious, Caligeus Aquarium, and Cuttlefish Color, each yet to be heard from. Carcinogenesis, CG, the boys, appears to have spearheaded the group's trolling campaign. While he was in the thick of his game session, the exiles commanding him from a terminal in the apocalyptic future was Spade Slick. This is one difference between his game session and John's, who had WV as an exile commanding him. In CG's session, his version of Jack Noir became exiled along the way and took on the name Spade Slick. 3 other agents were exiled, and the 4 of them formed a gang called the Midnight Crew. No one tell Moony that the Midnight Crew is canon to the actual canon of Homestuck, please.
They are. Well, I've been saying this. They are canon.
No, but Moony,
that shit.
Moony hasn't caught on yet. Don't tell them.
They're very canonical.
Okay, so I didn't know this. I didn't know it was like from CGs.
Well,
okay, I didn't know.
Here's what I am going to say. Some of this information was actually not said in the comic.
Yeah.
Like, this is stuff that we will actually learn later.
Mhm.
Like, for example, all those names that they just listed, I think they do briefly appear, but they weren't written out, like, directly. So, like, some of this is stuff that, like, some of this is stuff that might be coming up later and actually wasn't specifically specified in the comic, because that's why I was just like, the recaps do kind of, I think, spoil things a little bit.
Yeah.
At least very minor things.
No. These are spoil heavily used. Really.
Yeah.
Formed the Midnight Crew and spent years building up a dark city in the future wasteland of the Trolls' dead planet.
Well, actually, I do say that, but technically, yeah, this is implied because we did see it happen. Like, we did see it, because again, the very end of the Midnight Crew interlogue is Spade walking up to the terminal and seeing Carcat on there. So technically, I guess it was implied, but not directly said, like, word for word.
Which again was why I was like, information I didn't know, and now we can figure out there is information I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Another difference in the troll session is that at some point along the way, the Black Queen was also exiled, later joined a rival gang called the Felt, assumed special powers that make her highly inadvisable to kill, and came to be known as Snowman. It is not until Slick confronted the Felt in their mansion that he discovered the station terminal to command CG, and not before Snowman blinded him in one eye, severed his arm, and locked him in a vault. In a vault. Also, I need to get up real quick and use that bathroom, entertain the chat. I will be right back.
Okay. Bye. What's up?
Yeah, it's all connected, unfortunately.
See, it's things like this where I'm like learning, and I was like, hey, yeah, and then you guys were mean to me at the very end. I'm like, I want to read the recap, and you guys were like,
well, no, because
like,
how long have you been streaming?
Okay, I understand now. Okay,
yeah, do you understand
now
why we couldn't read this? Because we literally would have been there for hours just reading a recap of stuff that had just happened.
Yeah, I understand now. But it was very clear that I was like, yeah, there are information that I did not know about.
Because... Yeah, well, here's the thing. Again, it wasn't directly stated, so if you didn't know, that's okay, because it would come up again later, or just be something that's not something you have to know, like, verbatim.
Yeah, which is okay.
Yeah.
You're just silly. This is how it is.
You are silly, and I love you.
I love you too.
I love how Letters is just now in the corner sleeping.
Yeah.
Just fully moved from chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just going
to
do stuck it.
Anyway, this is a good point in time. Never mind.
What's this a good point in time for? Tell me.
I will tell you now. This is information you already know, but your chat might not. I have commissions open on VGen.
You do have commissions open
Yay.
Jan. You should give me the link so I can put it in my chat. Wow.
Yay.
Yeah, I can do that. Theoretically, I know how to do that.
I beat you to it.
Okay, thanks.
Wow, my chat, if you want to get some fun, cute Chimma art, consider commissioning Chimma.
I don't think you should consider. I think you should do it.
I think you should do it.
I think you should do it, and that is a threat. You have to do it.
ZodiacLord is threatening you. If you do not commission Chimma, he will get you.
Yep.
He'll steal your under.
I will fucking get you.
He will get you. This is not an idle threat. This is a promise. Well,
Okay, we will continue now.
if we
From
continue-
Snowwind killing Jack Spade.
Yeah. Each troll has a different
Jack-
trolling strategy and a different rhythm by which they hop around the kids' timeline to chat with them. CG's strategy, for the most part, was to begin trolling them at the very end of their adventure, the moment at which he was the most angry with their actions, and then gradually move backwards, mostly
He's
talking
so
to John.
stupid.
He's so
He's
dumb.
so stupid. I love him. He's so dumb.
Dumb. It's so dumb. Again, they're so dumb with this trolling strategy. Then it's me just looking like, hey guys, you know, the way you did this was awful.
Now, again, just to be clear, they are also 13. They're all just a bunch of kids. Like,
Just a bunch of
I
dumb
guess.
kids.
they're all a bunch of really dumb kids. But they're also dumb. And I love them.
This proves to be mutually frustrating, though, as John knows less and less about the situation the further into the past CG goes. Similarly, the further into the future John progresses, the more he has the advantage over CG by knowledge of his future conversations with him, and vice versa. Over the course of the opposing directions of the two sides of the conversation, John learns more about the nature of the game and why they're being trolled, and in spite of hostility, they gradually befriend each other through an inevitability alluded to on both sides of the conversation.
They both went at the very end, like, I guess you're friends now, and they're like,
At
okay.
the end and the
It's like,
start,
we're
they
not
both
friends
just like,
anymore.
you're my best friend, bro.
They both confused, like, I have no idea who you are. Leave me alone. I'm so angry at you, actually.
Exactly. They're so dumb. They're so dumb. They're babies.
They're so
They're so dumb. Early in the correspondence between John and CG, which is to say late for CG discovers he needs to get in touch with Jade, who refuses to talk to him in that time period. So he delivers a message to her much earlier, months in her past, telling her she needs to contact him when she's in trouble. She will know to do this when her dreambot explodes in the future, an outcome that has not yet happened. Two other trolls, Grim Auxilitrus and Adios Torador, GA and AT, have targeted only Rose and Dave thus far. GA has hopped arbitrarily back and forward in Rose's timeline to talk to her, and is attempting to cultivate a friendship with her that now seems rigged through a series of conversational time loops. While seeking counsel from Dave on how to befriend her. AT sought counsel from Rose on how to troll Dave more effectively after getting severely counter-trolled by him. He's under the impression he rebounded nicely, though. He's so dumb.
God, I love him
He's
so
so proud of himself,
God, I
Morgan.
love him so
If you want to click on rebounded nicely,
I have to pause for a moment. Like, I have to be very vague because I don't want to spoil anything for Chinema. But for you specifically, Letters, it drives me insane. Like, when I first read Homestuck, I was like, I thought I fully understood Tavros's character. I do not understand why there is such a large part of the fandom that mischaracterizes him so egregiously, and I don't understand why.
I don't
Because I'm
understand either.
like
He's
I'm
just a
not
little
usually one.
guy.
Yeah, I'm not usually one who gets into sort of like, oh, I hate it when they mischaracterize people, because I'm like, fiction is like open to interpretation. Sometimes you like someone, sometimes you don't. People should be open to interpretation. So many people like just seem to interpret him as being like the worst human being alive. And I'm like, did we read the same comic? Where are you getting this from?
I
I don't
know, and I just stare at
understand.
them like, what? We did not read the same character. He's just a
Yeah,
little guy.
especially, and again, I have to say this carefully because I will not spoil for Chinema. He's only ever the victim. I cannot think of a single situation where he actually
No.
deserves something that
He
happened to him.
doesn't.
Like, genuinely.
He's just
Like,
look at him. He's just a little guy.
I just genuinely do not understand how he gets so like, because there's plenty of like different interpretations in the fandom for stuff, and technically speaking, I've since learned that the comic actually makes certain parodies of these mischaracterizations, not always effectively, but it does.
Oh
um
yeah, I'm staring at my favorite guy in the far future. Yes, yes, yes. I
yeah,
see him.
yeah.
My boy,
So
my boy.
like, I totally get, like, actually, again, like, random side tangent. I learned recently from someone who deconstructed, like, they basically went on a long thing deconstructing the Homestuck epilogues, which of course I've never read, but it was
Mhm.
really interesting to read because apparently the reason why they went so wrong, according to this person, who I do kind of believe, they sounded like they knew what they're talking about. Um, the epilogues were basically meant to be parodies of fan fiction. They were meant to be all of the characters trapped in a hell of basically existing in a shitty fan fiction where they're mischaracterized.
Mhm.
Um, which the person even established, like, that does not mean they were handled correct, because their specific stuff was relating to transness in regards to the
Yeah.
epilogues
Knock,
and
knock,
why
knock.
they're so like, why trans headcanons and like trans the trans canon of certain characters in the epilogues is so messy and complicated. But like, in regards to like canon and things like that. But it was really interesting to read because it was like, the reason why they went so poorly is because they had an idea and it could have been a good idea, but it was not maybe handled correctly, and it could have been handled a lot better, and that's why they suck so bad, because there was probably a lot of people who read them thinking that this was canonical, like thinking, not realizing this was meant to be a parody of itself. And
Mhm.
like, and also, it's just hard to read your own characters in canon going through shitty fan fiction. Like, that's not really fun. um but
Yeah.
like, anyway, but that's like, and also the part that really interesting was, I also remember someone talking about how the alpha trolls, whenever we eventually get to them again without spoiling too much, were also meant to somewhat be parodies of certain times of fans and like fan fiction tropes almost.
Oh yeah.
um yeah, like, again, parroting mischaracterizations
You
of
can
their
tell that when you
descendants.
look at Cancree. Like, you
Yeah.
can't look at Cancree and say he is
He's
not a parody of a certain
he's
kind of person.
literally, he's so funny. Oh my
I
god,
love him so much.
I think I lost it before I could send it to you. I don't know, there's a meme going around right now which will show like one character going on a rant of just being like, it is so demeaning that you would look at me and like attribute me to yaoi tropes. I am a whole person. I have more to me than beyond my sexuality and blah blah. And then a character under them would be like big twink energy over here. And it was like that with Kankri and Mulin.
Aw,
And
yeah.
I'm losing my mind. Anyway, not related. But anyway, that, but like, anyway, I just, back to my point, it's just like, I don't understand, like, again, so I'm very used to like the arguments of fandoms on whether or not like people are interpreting certain characters right. And like, in a way, I think that it's fun to talk about because Homestuck is so messy. It's fun to think, like, it's fun to come up with, like, I love, no, like, no fandom I've ever been in has made me think about like be so invested in the complexities of shipping than like Homestuck is, just because there's so many possibilities and like
Listen, when
so
my
many
when my
different
little
things.
burgeoning arrow ace self found the trolls romance thing, I was like,
It was so
oh,
good.
there are words and feelings that are expressed in non-holy romantic things that are more than friendship. Oh, I was looking for that. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm like, I love
So
it. Like, I just love that kind of stuff. So I'm like, I'm used to people just like, and some of it, especially because again, over here, just like risk of discourse is hilarious
it's
because
so funny.
it's so polarizing because like it's either people love her, people are like, how fucking dare you? She is literally such a horrible person. And I love it. I think it's
Yeah,
really funny.
it's
But like,
good.
but I do not understand where this weird mischaracterization of Tavros comes from. I'm just like, you clearly did not read the comic, like
I
at all.
know.
There's no fucking way that you read
He
anything
has
because
done
there's
absolutely nothing wrong. You are
Absolutely nothing
correct,
wrong.
Saffron.
yeah.
Like there's
Shinema doesn't
some
even
takes
know,
of
and Shinema
Chima doesn't
knows.
even know, and Chima knows he's done nothing
Yeah,
wrong.
like again, without spoiling anything, whenever people argue about like whether or not I've seen people argue before about whether or not like he or Vriska were in the right or wrong in that, and I'm like, what do you mean who was in the right? What do you fucking mean? There's only one answer.
Like
It was not
when
him.
we get to that point, Chinema, we'll be able to like have a full breakdown of like
It's,
the
yeah,
entire like thing going on, everything behind it, and be like, and that's why the people that debate this issue are fucking stupid
it's
because it's so clear in black and white what's going on here.
it's the only time, or like I mean I've done it before, but it's the one thing it's the only character I get this passionate about when people mischaracterize him because I'm like, there's no, where does it come from? I don't know. I'm like, at
It's
least sometimes I understand where it comes from. Like if someone was like mean once and people maybe latched onto it a little bit too hard, or like, mean to their favorite characters. Like, I don't think from my memory Tavros is ever mean to someone.
No.
Ever.
Okay, this
Like
is
not
what
even on
Tavros has
purpose.
done so far
Yeah.
in the like 3 or 4 conversations we've had with him. He tried to troll Dave and got fucking freaked out, scared by Dave going hypersexual toxic masculinity. I am actually gay, but it's early 2010s and I can't deal with that bullshit right now at him. He got scared by Dave again. He went to Rose for advice on how to like interact and troll Dave because he's so bad at it. And Rose gave him some great advice and offered to like edit for him, but Tabra was just like, "No, I understand what I need to do. I am locked in. I can do this." And then he did the stupidest like one-sided rap battle while Dave was drawing in MS Paint a Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff update. And he looking so. This is a photo taken 2 seconds after he sent Dave his final message on burning him. He is so proud of himself. When his like dialogue included things of like, "You can't touch this goose. You're like Billy Goat Beard. I will get it." What's the policeman doing? I don't know. I don't know. And he's just a baby. Look
It's
at
just
him. He is the sweetest boy.
I'm cupping his face into my hands. I
That
love
Home to
it.
Man line did go hard though. It did. I
the one
love this
thing out of
man.
many
He's my
Like
son.
I can think of so like again, I can think like I think of all the trolls and I think of all the various ways they're characterized, arguably mischaracterized. Like some of the highlights being like discussion around like um um Equius is really fascinating to me.
I
Um
love the Equus Discord. That boy is my son, and I will fight for him. It's so funny when people see him being really nice and kind and wanting to like be soft and not hurt everyone he's talking to or be friends with and wants to like look after his best platonic girlfriend and look at him and be like, he's an abuser. Did you know he's an abuser,
It's
guys?
so
And I
crazy.
stare
I'm
at
like,
them and I say,
it's
you're stupid.
it's so
You're
fascinating because
dumb.
I feel like a lot of people's interpretations of like the trolls and the kids and stuff are so revealing about them as people because like with Equius, I think is so again. I'm trying to dance around it a little bit so we can get this. But though I'm more like excited for Moony's reaction or more interested in Moony's reaction specifically. But like,
Oh, yeah, Mooney's voicing him, isn't he? Yes, Mooney is
yeah,
voicing him. My
it's gonna be
husband.
fun. But like,
Mhm.
uh, it's so interesting to me because I'm like, I feel like a lot of people were greeted with the fact that Equius is kind of like a weird, horny guy, like even unintentionally,
Mhm.
and like that's all they ever saw. And I can almost relate because when I was a teenager listening to this, like that's kind of all you when you're a teenager reading that, you're like, oh my god, this is kind of weird. But like now I'm older and I'm wiser and I'm like, we shouldn't maybe be judging people exclusively on their kinks and or fetishes. Like
He's
we should,
13,
he's a
by the
13-year-old
way.
boy. He's
He's a
doing his best.
13-year-old boy.
He's literally hurting no one. He's just a complicated guy, and I'm like, it's so interesting. Or like again, Vriska discourse is hilarious. Eridan discourse is
I love the
hilarious to
Eridan
me.
discourse. I have a friend who's like a big Eridan lover, and I love seeing him get into the Eridan discourse sometimes because it's so funny. I
Yeah,
love
I'm
it
like,
so much. I can't wait
I
to voice
love.
Eridan, send him a clip, and be like, I'm sorry, I'm butchering your child. I assign
But
this
yeah,
to myself.
but I'm like, I know I've also seen like a lot of like not that long ago I saw a lot of like Dirk and Roxy specific discourse about their relationship and stuff. Um, there's always a lot of discourse about Dirk's like sexuality specifically.
Hmm.
Because without again, I won't get into that. It's a spoiler. But like the anyway, but I'm like I find it all really fascinating. Tavros is the only one where I just like draw a firm line of being like, guys, like,
Guys.
you were just making it up. Like you just
He's
heard from
literally a
someone.
baby. He cries. He just wants to play games. Like, what did he do to offend you? Tell me right
He
now. I
literally
promise I
all he
won't tell
wants to do
anyone.
is play games and LARP. That's
Yeah.
literally all he wants to do with his life.
Mhm.
Like he's just
He wants to
strange.
play
Anyway,
Monster
I'm
Collector and play fantasy games and D&D with his
yeah,
friends.
exactly. Anyway, that's sorry for the long interlude.
We needed a Tavros interlude. We
I
needed it.
needed to
It's
express my
important.
feeling.
Him. Look at him. See
Look
how
at
much he
him.
needs this.
The sign begin. Anyway.
Zoomed.
Gallows Calibrator, GC, has stayed mostly linear in her trolling patterns, and has done so under the guise of helping the kids on their quest. She convinces John to take a shortcut through his land, shows him the Denizen's palace, leads him to warp back to his house, then shows him how to fix the faulty rocket pack he made earlier through an alchemy mishap. She tells him to use the rocket pack to fly up to the seventh gate, enter the Denizen's palace, and kill it while it sleeps. He complies with this and flew through the seventh gate in spite of reservations from Dave, who just entered the medium the moment before John took off. GC also assisted Rose just after she bested an ogre with ease. She counseled her on understanding her role as the Seer of Light, and the meaning of the voice in her head as an exile issuing commands from a terminal. In her case, it was the exiled White Queen issuing commands from the egg-shaped station in the future. Since Dave is Rose's server player, the terminal station from Dave's impact site commands to Rose, just as the station at Rose's impact site, which WV found, issues command to John, her client player.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. After conversing with GA, Rose found Jasper Sprite and interrogated him about the secret which she found so maddening mysterious years ago. He explained elements of the mythos of her land, how she'd need to learn to play the rain to produce the magical analog, how she need to learn to play the rain to produce the musical analog of the genetic code to reintroduce life into the ocean. In response to her question about his secret, he simply replied, Mao. She mistook this for more nonsense, but was in fact the secret he told her years ago. The four-letter sequence, Mao, unlocked a genetic code in her subconscious, which she would spend years scrawling on her wall using those letters in place of the typically used GCAT letters, while completely oblivious to the scrawlings and their meanings just as John was. As Jasper said, she would understand their meaning when her dream self wakes up. Rose's dream self lives in a tower on the moon of Durst. Dave's dream self lives on the same moon in the other tower. It was suggested by Rose's future self, who was fully awake in the tower, that Dave had already been awake in his tower all along without realizing it. This was suggested in a conversation she had she had in the future with Dave. It was an alternate future timeline, not meant to be. This future timeline came about by this series of events. Jade was able to enter the medium by connecting with Jade as his server player. Jade got copies of the game from the Frog Ruins after she delivered John's package to her past self. She snuck into the ruins while Beck was asleep and retrieved the game from a Lotus time capsule which had been ticking down for millions of years. The game was Dave's copy from the future, the same one that fell out of the window with the impaled crow. Once she got the game, the time capsule started ticking down again, set to expire 413 years later, well, when the exiles are there. She dropped some items in the ruin, leaving them there for AR to find, and leaving her base jammed in the elevator. Beck then found her there, took her to her room, and grounded her there for the rest of the evening. More water.
Whatever.
Water.
Ah, they're so free. Well, we're almost at the end of the year one recap. Yay!
Yeah, only for year one.
Year one.
She quickly helped Dave set up the game, upgrading his alchemy heavily and crafting the special item he needed to enter the medium, a red egg, which needed to be incubated and hatched to activate. She prototyped his kernel sprite with the impaled crow, which would affect the enemies later, including the Black Queen. The sprite built a nest on top of his apartment's antenna tower and stole the egg to incubate it for hours. A very large meteor was soon bearing down on his city. Dave then entered the medium through a series of unseen events. Jade was asleep, thus forbidden by Dave from interacting with his environment at all. Jade complied for fear of retribution. Dave was faced with the crow sprite, which...
Can you click on retribution?
Retribution.
Yeah. What was this retribution supposed to be?
Robo slap.
Oh.
Retribution. Don't do things in your sleep or you will get retribution. Dave was faced with the crow sprite, which appeared to be suggesting he prototype it again with the remains of little Cal. Dave consulted with John on this, who was about to rocket up to the 7th gate. John had no advice and proceeded up through the gate against better judgment. Dave prototyped the sprite with Cal. John entered the palace, presumably found the denizen, and was easily killed by it, as was the intent of GC's trick on him. This meant John could not establish a connection with Jade to rescue her from the looming meteor, and Dave and Rose lost contact with her, presuming her dead. Dave and Rose then spent the next 4 months in the medium, advancing as far as they could to collect information before Dave decided to travel back in time to change events. Dave used his timetables to go back to the moment he was about to prototype with Cal. Both he and his past self strongly urged John not to go through the gate. John was reluctant at first, but soon reconsidered and flew down beneath the clouds. Future Dave then gave present Dave all his advanced gear and prototyped his crow sprite with himself to make Dave's sprite, thus serving as his own guide from the future.
Okay, wait, then, considering that, because this is before Dave entered the medium, right? That means that the enemies also now have Dave as part of their information.
Probably.
Okay.
Maybe a little.
Oh, wait. Give me a second. Because I think at this point Dave's
No,
actually
remember
in
he
the
went
medium. Give me a minute. Dave then entered the medium through a series of unseen events before this happened. No.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say I
The
don't
original.
think so,
I don't
but
think,
yeah.
yeah.
Wait, no, go back.
Ah.
Because it says that was
Dave
prototyped
entered
with
the medium here. Dave prototypes right with Cal after that.
Okay. Okay, got it. Got it.
Got it?
Okay. I understand now.
You
Okay.
understand
We're
it?
back. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I have followed the timeline again.
We have connected the dots.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have fingered the loop to go back into the timeline. Yes.
Before going back in time, future Dave convinced future Ro to go as asleep. He suggested her dream self would be unaltered by the timeline shift, and in her dream state she would remember the events from the future. When Dave went back, Rose's future self assumed the position of Rose's present dream self. Rose fell asleep, and on Dersh's moon, she instantly woke up. She then saw all the genetic scrawlings she did in Mao letters, and understood their meaning. Meanwhile, on Durst below, the Black Queen again insisted that Jack Noir abide by the dress code. He refused, and the Queen threatened him. He picked up Jade's package to John, removed what was inside, and used it to slice her ring finger off. He then killed the Black Queen, put the ring on, and dons the full upgrade supplied by the free prototypings. What's inside? Show me.
Package.
What could be inside? What could be inside? Open it. Oh yeah, something. Whatever it was, he got the ring from it. What's in the box? Who knows?
Okay.
Hmm? He then became Jack Spurs Noir Crow, which is a name I just made up now. And then after that, you started watching me type in this ridiculous study I photoshopped for myself with my cool horse painting propped up in the background. And that's the year one recap. Yay!
Woo!
Yippee. It only took us an hour 30.
Not my bad.
We did it.
We had a very
Yeah.
important Tavros interlude in there.
Yeah, very important. Very important.
Oh,
And I believe the other one's shorter.
yes, the other one should be shorter. Just started reading in mid-August. I haven't been around the discourse block in the fandom. Why don't people just chill out? I don't know. People are weird. I think it's that like
But
combo thing of like media literacy is dead. Puritan culture is on the rise.
What's the question?
The 20 why don't people just chill out in the Homestuck fandom? People are weird.
Meh.
yeah,
I will
I think it
say,
just has to think of like in general fandom culture has been getting worse.
yeah,
Mm.
fandom culture's that's what I was gonna say is fandom culture is just bad because my personal opinion and like I honestly I usually participate in fandoms on a surface level. I'll just be pretty direct about that. But like I in my experience of being in the Homestuck fandom almost never experienced like discourse. Or like I never experienced super aggressive people. I never experienced like almost everyone was very chill, very laid back. And I almost like, and especially back when I was really into it, I never saw most of the time when I saw fandom discourse, it was over other things other than Homestuck. It was about like, now I'm seeing it more now, maybe because it's just Twitter, but like, yeah, I'm just like, I don't think it's a Homestuck specific thing because almost every single fandom, especially nowadays, is exactly like this. Like they just
Yeah,
people are weirdly aggressive. I saw someone put it in like
one of the
very
reasons.
hot but very smart terms
You guys keep
of
going.
saying that what?
Okay,
Okay.
Lettuce is going for a bit.
Okay. Someone put it in terms of like why they think that fandom has become so awful and toxic nowadays everywhere is that it's run by people who don't actually want to be in a fandom. Like they don't actually want to coexist with people. They don't actually want like to be in a community of people with different opinions than them. They want just one thing. And it's like they don't know how to deal with that, so they make it worse for everybody else by being there.
I think
And it's like,
part of
mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think part of the reason why it became so worse too as well is because of the way that social media works, of how things that get interacted with more or what get put up. So like people interacting with discourse and like, oh
Yeah.
no, I'm making this post just kind of like to make people angry because that'll get me more views and stuff like that has
Yeah.
become more of a thing, which is why I think fandom has grown into that place where it's like, yes, obviously, a lot of not fun conversations or discourse is happening up and cropping up a lot more because of that.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reality. That is because that's also, I think it's a multi-layered problem personally, because I'm like, it's, it's people, it's a lack of media literacy that's been happening. It's just the general culture right now where people really like fighting. Like people don't seem to be having enough to worry about in their lives and decide to fight about fictional characters instead of doing anything else with their time, like instead of finding a different hobby. Like, and maybe that's a hot
Yeah.
Like,
my own
there's enough
personal
going
opinion.
on in the world. You cannot fight the guy. You can use the block button is free, the mute
Yeah,
button is free, the back button is free.
it's
You can just leave, my guy.
yeah, because what I was saying was like I think the whole fandom toxicity nowadays is such a multi-layered problem because like, and then it's like Chinema said, it's also because we're now in a culture of internet where we're just surrounded by feeds, and
Mhm.
feeds like when there is more activity. So if and people just tend to have more to say about something they don't like than something they do like, so it becomes a feedback loop of this is what is getting the most traction even if it's negative, so this is what is becoming the front, like being put in front of more people, and then the cycle continues. And it's like, which sucks because it really shouldn't be. um
Yeah.
but like, and then I also think it's just like, again, like I was saying, of just like I think that people also yeah, that's how I feel personally. But like it's also just layers of like, again, people don't have enough like, I also think it comes from that we're developing this weird culture that wants to be really, really like morally correct in everything, and they're applying it to things that are maybe put them in the wrong, because it's like they just everyone has been so, and like this has happened the most often in like, I just to put it bluntly, I guess this has been happening most often in like the spicy corners of fandom, especially,
Yeah.
where like
Yeah.
people can't like fucking handle the concept of having something like, of having a kink that is not like widely acceptable, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
It's so silly. Like if
yeah,
you're like drawing or writing a fictional kink that is for you and like a specific sect of people that like enjoy it as well, let people live what they like. Like life is not free.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
Shit
and
sorry.
sucks.
like,
You
Enjoy
enjoy
your
the
life.
guy cries having their character having like a necrophilia kink or something like that. I'm just like, yeah, okay, sorry about that. Anyway, move on. This isn't your corner then.
yeah,
Things like that. I'm just
it's like
like,
again, and
hey,
that's where I feel, because I'm like, I don't know, I just remember a time whenever it's like if you saw something and you were like, ew, that's gross, you just kind of
You
went
walked
somewhere else.
away.
You just like,
yeah,
because again, it's like if it's not physically hurt, and I'm like, that's my thing too, if it's tagged correctly, even more so, you shouldn't be over here. Like, I don't think
especially
it,
nowadays when we're like, oh, AO3 exists and has their great tagging system compared to fanfiction.net or like, LiveJournal or something.
Mhm.
yeah.
So like, hey, we've improved in the tagging system for things. You can avoid
Hmm.
things.
And it's starting to also creep into a thing of like, and I saw someone put it very nicely, and I'm like, and nicely in the way of like where I made that kind of like ooh face, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
because it was just like, ah, you said it out loud. But like, where they basically, I mean, to butcher their words a little bit, they basically put it in a way of like, y'all say that you only want dark stuff if it's handled correctly, but you can't seem to agree on what that means,
Yeah.
because you're taking things that are not supposedly romanticizing something and making a problem out of it. Like, you just can't seem to decide. It's basically whether or not you like it, or whether or not you're like personally comfortable with it or not. And it's like, because they were talking about that specifically in the realms of like abuse, like abuse in media, or depicting like toxic relationships, abusive relationships of varying degrees, and basically saying how, like, first of all, y'all say to like, oh, this stuff should only happen off screen. Okay, but you're still like, how does that make it what you're implying any less horrible than if
Mm-hmm.
you showed it? Like, I think obviously it depends on what you're creating, but like there's, a
Yeah.
certain level of it. And also, like, in the regards to romanticizing, that word's kind of thrown around very haphazardly, and
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
people
people
know what that
understand.
word means.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
here's the because I'm mentioning and making a very, very good point that if you're writing a story about abuse from the abused perspective, sometimes you romanticize it in your own mind while you're still in that relationship,
Yeah,
because it's how
self-abuse.
you survive. Like, I remember they were talking
Yeah.
specifically in regards to SA, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and how, like,
Mhm.
sometimes people's survival mechanism is to basically either gaslight themselves into thinking they enjoyed it, or just trying to, like, or even, and people don't want to talk about this, they're developing kinks related to
Based on
it,
it.
Yep.
because your
Yeah.
brain is coping with the trauma. And I know that's been happening a lot in spaces as well, where there are some people who
Mhm.
can't seem to possibly comprehend the idea of like an SA victim who is not sex repulsed.
I
And
know. Stares at Boulder Gate fandom. Stares at you. Boulder Gate
when like
fandom. Why you
Sorry.
do
that when like
this?
that when like hypersexuality is a very real like response to that kind of
Mm-hmm.
trauma, and that kind of a thing as well. It also,
It's
I remember also
again
this
the
conversation.
idea of like taking
Yeah,
control back from it. And that's like
yeah.
a big reason what's going on
It's
there. So it's like,
and
yeah, this
this
makes sense.
this stuff
There.
is yeah, this stuff is complicated, and like, yes, it should be handled with care and with like thought, but people seem to be trying to decide, like, people seem to be deciding that they're the police that gets to decide where the line is, or what is handled correctly when it's not, when there is no such thing as a perfect victim. There's no such thing as like a perfect, like, no, you're not going to relate personally to every single story that you hear or see about it. Like, things are complicated and you shouldn't have to, but you just, then people just can't leave it alone though. They can't
Mm-hmm.
just go talk about it or reflect upon it or discuss it in like a wider context. They have to just completely tear things apart, because I know this, the other thing I've been seeing recently making the rounds is incest in media,
Oh
where
yeah.
people are particularly taking a lot of gothic fiction and being shocked and disgusted that incest ends up happening. And despite a lot of the media they end up getting upset over handling it quote unquote correctly, in the sense of like not treating it as like a, ooh, this is so like, this is so sexy kind of a thing, but instead treating it like, yes, this is a real thing that happened during these times, and this is a part of the story because
This
it's
is
a part
a
of either the whole,
historical thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
like, especially in gothic fiction where it's like that's just
It's
sort
like
of
usually
part of
like
the Mac bar,
historical.
like,
Mm-hmm.
and like treating it, or like even stuff with like, I know Game of Thrones and like House of the Dragon have been getting this treatment a lot, where
Mm-hmm.
people seem to be assuming that like because there's incest that seems to inherently mean the story is pro incest, when like most of
The
the time in the
no,
shows
because like that's
it's,
so silly to say. Because in
yeah,
House of the Dragon, it literally shows that because of all the incest babies, everyone from that bloodline is a fucking mad as a hatter.
yeah, like, and
It's not good.
where it's like, arg, and it's like people need to just, and again, if you don't, and then so now it's like the solution of people basically trying to come up with ways to take it out, because they decide that because it shouldn't be in there, it should be taken out. And all I can think to myself is like, you are the exact reason why the Avatar live action made Sokka not sexist, because instead of
Yeah.
handling a
You know.
handling a negative subject with intelligence and grace, you'd rather just not deal with it at all. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah. Like,
pinches
hey,
you. Like, it's just,
characters can grow. That's the thing. That was a
Characters
big
can
thing
yeah,
about
grow,
his character
guys.
too. Of like
Character
him
development
like
is real, I
growing.
promise.
Also,
yeah,
him being a kid and be like, yeah, because due to like cultural things that's going on, like, yeah, okay, he had like somewhat of a reason to kind of go through that. And then him
Mm-hmm.
realizing like, oh no, yeah, the world's a lot larger than his small little town where, the guys were all sent off to war, so he had to be the man of the whole village, basically thing.
Yeah.
To this whole thing where it's like, okay. Anyway, a lot of things. We should
Yeah. And I'm like,
just so
I think it's
much.
so, it's like, so I'm just like, people are just, so I think it's all of this, like, not to go straight back to the point that we were actually trying to make, is like, there's all of this weird, like, and I've always been of the opinion, and like, I know it's a tricky line to walk because some people get so like, again, it's that Twitter thing of like, oh, you don't like, oh, you like pancakes, so you hate waffles kind of a thing. But, just like reading too deep into, like, I am someone who, to the end of time, will always advocate that if you start censoring any kind of fiction, like anything that is not literally hurting people, or is like directly having a psychological effect on those who consume it, but like if you start censoring things willy-nilly or declaring that certain pieces of media or art or fiction or anything can't exist, it will not stop. The line, it's not going to be a line drawn once and then it's over and then haha, you've done it, hooray. It's going to keep going and it's going to keep creeping until soon we're censoring things that don't need to be censored. Like, and I mean, it's the same thing with like, like book banning. Like, it's the same. It might, like, especially us who are queer
Oh,
might look at like,
yeah.
Republicans banning books and be like, see, they're crazy because they're just banning LGBT literature, but that's how it happens.
That's how it
It starts,
starts.
yeah,
Because
it's
one of the
like,
most famous, there's like two famous book series that are always banned for various different reasons. Fault in Our Stars for one reason. Like I
yeah,
remember because I've done a lot of projects on like book bans and everything. Fault in Our Stars was a very big one that's banned in a lot of places. And it's like, okay, that one not been banned. Another thing too is like going from my personal experience of like books that was banned was, for example, the Harry Potter series because of religious undertones and stuff like that. It's like, hey, yeah, witches and wizards bad. Actually, cannot be seen. It's like, hey,
wizards
however,
are
when you
the
can look at
devil.
that,
Wizards are the devil.
literally, it's like, so it's a thing of going from like my perspective, like, hey, yeah, here's some things where it's like that shouldn't be banned for various reasons. But like, there's a way where you can handle and like deal with having kids read media and stuff like that, and knowing like sometimes kids will get access to things because it's just it's an access to them and everything. However, there's a point where you can go and talk to your kid like, hey, yeah, let them learn and like actually talk them through instead of just banning it for everyone and have no one having that conversation with their kid before a kid's going to go and said find this media
Yeah.
on their own and then go
Hmm.
and do something.
And like, that's where I feel of like, I'm at the thing, like, that doesn't me even thinking that of like, I don't think that, because I just think that art is such a personal thing, so open to interpretation, that to say that something isn't allowed that could be so personal to someone because you decided it makes you uncomfortable is making the world a duller place. Because all, like,
Yes.
even, and that's not even me saying that all art made about horrible things is good, because
Yeah.
it's not. But even bad art can sometimes spark important conversations.
I think bad
For
Even,
art
example,
needs
a
to
very
exist.
yes,
yeah,
I'm like,
Mhm.
and I, to
one
use
of
a
the
very
good
dramatic,
examples of like bad
yeah,
art that should exist is My Immortal, for example. That's what I
yeah,
always think about that. Like, yes,
exactly.
it was incredibly bad. It is so awful.
This is,
However, there are
but
several things you can learn from it of like, hey, yeah, here's how a person can deal with like, you know, one thing you can learn more writing tips of like, oh yeah, this was probably not the best way to go about like, doing a self-insert and learning like, hey yeah, having a completely overpowered character can
Thank you
for
for
like the
the
whole story.
clarification, because for a moment I thought like the song. I think that song's pretty good. The My Immortal song from
Immortal
Evanescence.
the
I
fan
think that's a
fiction.
pretty good song. Wait, do I have bad taste now? Oh no! No, we're
No,
talking about the fan
you have excellent
fiction.
taste. No, I'm like, because I have a, and I mean, to use an even more like, I guess, extreme example or more like fucked up example, 13 Reasons Why
Yes.
is it, it is a
Ooh,
show,
yes.
it is a show that I do personally believe horrible. They completely mucked it all up. They fucked it up. There's a lot of things in there that is badly written, terrible, and
Yeah.
also, most importantly for
And
this
what
example and why I'm using it, was actually causing harm to people when it was released, because it had uncensored, without any warning, like full depict like a disgustingly realistic depiction of a suicide with no warnings or anything, and it caused people to relapse. In that regard, I do not think it should be easily accessible to people who might walk into it not knowing what they're walking into. However, I would still advocate that that should still exist, because the amount of conversation about handling mental health in media was surmountable when it happened. And it, like, for all the negativity it created, that piece of media was important to a regard because of the conversation that it created. And by that regard, and I'm like, I just am also of the opinion that, like, it shouldn't be destroyed just because of it was bad, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
In general,
it's
stories shouldn't
Also,
be destroyed.
art
Off of
shouldn't
a
be art, writing, media, things like that shouldn't be destroyed because like the media of the time shows the mindset like of the
yeah.
world at the time. Like To Kill a Mockingbird should never be destroyed as a story because it shows the racism like rampant in American culture at the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't
yeah,
destroy media that shows like the
Yeah.
cultural mindset of a society or a culture that just
Like,
erases things, and it's bad for like growth of people as a whole. Like we
yeah.
need to have
Like,
those conversations of like why this was the cultural norm,
mm-hmm.
why it was accepted, and how we learned and grown from that point. Otherwise we'll just slide right back to it. Staring at you, Trump.
Right.
Staring at you.
Uh, like, and
Please
that's why I'm like,
say I'm an
as
with
much
illegal
that.
immigrant to America so I
yeah.
can get the free trans surgeries. Thank you.
No,
Um,
I'm like, because that's where I'm like, as much as I hate Disney, that's why I do genuinely respect the fact that they have left a lot of their old propaganda, and also just generally racist cartoons exist on their streaming service with
oh
like
yeah.
messages in place beforehand and stuff, but leaving them there unedited, which is a big important thing, because the
Yeah.
habit that people have with old media, and that has been happening a lot with a lot of remakes and sort of like re-renditions of stuff,
Mhm.
is this thing was bad, we must remove it because it is bad.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you were making something that was like being made right now and could still be made and like not have the impact it has, I would almost agree with you. But when you're talking about something that has already existed, already solidified, to remove it is to hide
Try to
something.
take costs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, as much as I despise them, their choice to leave a lot of that stuff unedited for the purpose of like historical preservation is
Yeah.
extremely important and respectable,
Mhm.
because that's a very hard choice to make, but a very important one. Because like
That's why
it's
like the Internet Archive was so important.
yeah.
Things like that, just like being able to preserve history as it
Yeah.
is very important.
I promise I won't go in a deep dive about this, but like, speaking of that and why that stuff is so crazy important, I am I would had an almost had an aneurysm last night, because I remembered I was like scrolling around trying to find something to watch, and I remembered, oh yeah, I remembered when Mark played that game like Duck Hunt or Duck Season or whatever it's
Mhm.
called. I want to watch him play that again. It's the horror game with the
With the
dog.
dog guy.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, and I should say this because I need to assert this like confidently. I know he played this.
I'm
I
pretty
know
sure
he did.
I've seen Mark
I
play that one.
watched it
Yeah.
multiple times. I know he played it. I know he got multiple endings. I remember him playing it to the end. It is nowhere. When you look it up, it doesn't exist anywhere. And I'm not crazy, because there are Reddits even asking about it, asking where it went or if it existed at all. And people said they even looked on like the Wayback Machine, on like Internet Archives. It's non existent. And it's crazy because when you look it up on YouTube, what comes up is Jack playing it. But I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't think I watched Jack played it. I'm 100% sure I watched Mark play it once, and multiple times I watched, because I rewatch things a lot. So
Yeah.
I know I watched him play it because I distinctly remember some of the behavior he had towards the dog, and some of the things the way he behaved in that. And I know some people have pointed out that like the one like living physical evidence I think is Game Theory's video on it, where they have a clip of Mark playing it in there somewhere, but you can't find it anywhere, and genuinely no one knows what happened to it.
Oh.
Because it's like some people were like, is this just a Mandela effect thing where we all just confidently believe that this is a thing that happened, but it didn't? But I swear it's not. I swear it was real, but where did it go? I don't understand. And I'm like, but that's the kind of shit where I'm like, these things are important to record, because even though that's a small silly example, and that technically speaking, whether or not Mark's series of Duck Hunt was purged from the internet forever and will never be seen again is maybe not like detrimental for the whole of the universe, it's still like when
Like
you put that
can
on a
enlarge
grander
it to a
scale,
of like the Library of Alexandria. We
yeah,
used to have the recipe to make Greek fire, for example, and that is a thing that just simply doesn't exist. And so it seems like it's
yeah,
a thing of myth, when it's a thing that we know was actually possible to make Greek fire, or fire that burned on water and would continuously burn. We just
yeah.
do not know how to make it now, and it's lost knowledge. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, that's where it starts. It starts with Markiplier's series playing Duck Hunt, and it ends with the burning of the Library of Alexandria. That's the conclusion we must take from this conversation.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it started with the mischaracterization.
No, that is
No, it's like
100% correct. Nothing mischaracterized about it.
I'm just like, I
no,
think the
I said
conversation
what I
started.
said.
No, I'm saying I think that the whole conversation started with
No,
mischaracterization of
no, the
characters.
whole conversation started with that, yes. However, the moral we should be taking with it is that whenever Mark mysteriously deletes his Duck Hunt series, the Library of Alexandria burns.
It's step 1. Markiplier deletes his series of Duck Hunt. Step 2. Oh. Step 3, profit. Step 3, the burning of the Library of Alexandria. Profit.
I need a diagram of this. Like it's like that domino meme where it starts with Mark's video of Duck Hunt mysteriously being gone, and it ends with the burning of Library of Alexandria.
This is why the Library of Alexandria burned with me.
That's why, because someone deleted a video 100 million years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we are back to the time shenanigans of Homestuck.
Time
No,
shenanigans.
listen, it deeply bothers me only because I do know there are some videos on Mark's channel that were deleted during the course of Una's Honest, because I was there for that. I saw that happen, and that was a part of the art project they were doing. But also,
Yeah.
it wasn't Duck Hunt, so where did it go? Where did it go? Anyway, I'm done now.
Yeah.
We have finished our 20-minute interlude in between the
Yes.
Homestuck recaps.
We finished our 20-minute intermission in between the intermissions.
Mhm. If
Okay.
you need to get up and stretch before we come back, you should have done it in the 20 minutes we just had.
I know, you fool.
You
We gave you
fool.
so much time, and you didn't take it. You instead sat here and watched us proliferate about fandom culture, you fool. You fell right into our trap.
Fell right into our trap. Now, recap 2. Picking up from where we left off, I typed a really long recap, then some other stuff happened. GC, Gala's calibrator, helped John fly to the second gate, which took him to Rose's world, Lolar. He crashed into Rose's room, where he found her asleep. He snooped through her room, and Dave tricked him into giving him the code to duplicate Rose's writing journals. John opened the package Rose made for his birthday. It contained the bunny from Con Air, the same one John got from Dave, but older and dirtier, and modified with Rose's knitting. She had the bunny since she was very young. John leaves Casey the salamander, Bubbles Viceroy Von Salamancer, in the room. He briefly speaks with G.A., Grim Oscillatress, from Rose's computer, and pretends to be Rose. She believes he is, triggering a convoluted series of conversations between her and the real Rose, in both the past and future, in no particular order.
There was a
G.A. helped.
specific order.
No specific order.
No, they tell you that there was a specific order
No,
because
there
there's
is
a
no
reason why all this happened.
specific order.
It's
There
just
was
not like
ever.
No particular order.
Fine. So continue.
Gets help with her computer from TA, Twin Armageddons, in time to see Rose at her computer having woken up. Before she woke up, Dream Rose was awake on Durst's moon. She now has had memories from her future self's doomed alternative reality. She flew to Dream Dave's tower and got his attention with a ball of yarn, causing real Dave to fall asleep. They had a dream dance party. Dream Rose threw Dream Cal out the window. Rose rocket board caught Dream Cal. AR question mark followed the board and Cal to the transportizer on Durst, which led to a meteor lab in the Vale. Meanwhile on Lolar, Rose's mom defeated a huge monster. The pony Maplehoof followed her and collected the Grist Windfall. Both Mom and the pony were then transported to the Meteor Lab. John's dad found a clean hat John had deposited into a parcel Pisces. Dad followed Dad followed Jade's grandpa, who was carrying John's Sassacre book, into some ruins. There's too many J's.
All the J's. They're all converging.
They both transported to the Meteor Lab, too. Meanwhile, John used the grist collected by the pony to make a normal-sized version of a giant hammer, Fear No Anvil, which Dave Sprite gave him the code for. Dream Rose saw John on Dream Dave's computer and woke up. She went out to see him, but he had already blasted off. He took the mutant kitten, Vodka Mutini, Dr. Meowgan Spangler, with him. John found the ruins that Mom and the pony went into. He went in and killed some powerful monsters with his new hammer. He transported to the Media Lab as well. In the lab, he found no one except the pony. Some other stray items were on the floor. Dad's dirty hat, the Sassacre book, Dream Cow. He found some apparatus used to genetically engineer foot soldiers and agents for the white and black armies from chess piece DNA. He also found a junior ectobiologist's lab suit and a series of terminals much like those the exiles would find in the far future. He would use this apparatus to create paradox clones of himself, his friends, and their guardians.
My turn?
Your turn.
Okay.
Meanwhile, AR question mark served Bro's rocket board to a different meteor containing the Frog's Temple that would later root itself near Jade's Island. Inside, he found the same time capsule she would find later. He also found some more lab equipment to use for ectobiology. This equipment would soon be used to create Bakuro, a mutated combination of the genes from an ordinary dog in the earliest 20th century, and the DNA coded in one of Rose's journals. AR question mark hides in the lab when he hears one of Jack's henchmen, the Draconian dignitary. DT is carrying Rose's duplicated journals, which he stole from Dave, and Dave's beta, which he used as a bookmark. He discards the beta into the time capsule. Millions of years later, from the capsule's perspective, Jade retrieves the beta and uses it to connect with Dave, allowing him to enter the medium. Dave created the journal duplicates after extensive alchemy binge. Rose too had a similar alchemy session, and both kits upgraded their weapons and gear. Rose made a pair of needle wands, crossed with her grimoire, and took up the art of dark magic. She used this magic to burn her journal, thus destroying the genetic code. She was advised to do so by the gods of the furthest ring, whom she was now able to communicate with in her dreams. The gods live far beyond the veil, and advise the children of the moons of Durst and serve as the counterpart to the role Skya plays for the children of Prospet's moon. They deemed the code which would inevitably be used to create the Quirrell to be dangerous. Dave decided to destroy his copy too, but when he went back to his room, he discovered they were stolen. He also found his own dead body, which apparently was him from the very near future attempting to go back in time and stop the thief DD. Dave decided not to attempt any more time travel and disposed of the body. GC, Gallows Calibrator, discussed the matter with him and pledged to help him by telling him his future along the way, so that he would not have to face the death of more future selves or suffer the sort of embarrassment he went through while entering the medium. Previously unseen, the way Dave entered the medium was as follows. As a large meteor was bearing down on the city, Dave climbed the radio tower on top of his building with his broken sword in hand to reach the nest built by the crow sprite. The sprite guarded the egg, which, unknown to Dave, simply needed time to hatch before he could enter. The sprite pecked his head and he fell. He was saved by Bro's rocket board. Meanwhile, Bro was on top of the meteor, riding it as it descended. He used his sword to chop it in half, splitting it into two pieces, diverting the initial impact from their building to two separate impact sites. Hazel spotted a little more time for the egg to hatch, which it did just before their location was consumed by the blast.
He's so cool. He cut a meteor in half.
Good.
The coolest
Staring.
guy. What you staring at?
On Prospect Moon,
Oh,
PM question mark prepares to despair for the battlefield at the center of Skya to seek the king's counsel on what to do with the queen's ring. She was tailed by another of Nora's lackeys, the courtyard droll. CD picked her pocket and stole the drink. PM question mark departed via shuttle to Skya. Dream Jade then clobbered CD and recovered the ring. She tried it on, but its power has no effect on humans. Later, CD would travel to the battlefield and continue tailing PM question mark. The battlefield is a planet at the center of Skya. It undergoes a transformation with each player that enters the medium and each new prototype kernel introduced. It starts as a simple 3x3 chessboard with two kings and perpetual stalemate, and expands to a larger board and more exotic collection of pieces with the first player entering. Then it becomes a much larger cube with the second player, and an even larger sphere with ocean, trees, mountains, and pastures with the third. It presumably will transform again for the fourth. The armies of the Black and White Kingdoms duel there. Soldiers are airlifted from meteor facilities in the Veil to supply the manpower. Enormous mutant chest-like monsters stalk the landscape. The two kings command their armies from the field. They each have a scepter which serves a similar purpose to the queen's rings. When activated, a scepter causes a king to be a giant and bears the properties of all the prototypings. A king is able to deactivate a scepter to hand it off to another so that they will not be affected in that way. When the Black King captures the White King's scepter, the reckoning begins. The reckoning sends all the meteors in the Veil toward Skya in stages. First the small ones, then gradually the bigger ones over a 24-hour period.
text myself in. There was a war-weary villain on the battlefield who was a simple farmer and was tired of the conflict. WV united a band of soldiers from both armies to lead a rebellion against the Black King. Before they could attack the king, Jack Noir, now empowered by the Black Queen's ring, intercepted the coup. He destroyed the king's scepter and killed the king. Jack then killed the entire rebellion army, sparing only WV perhaps to leave a survivor to tell the story, or perhaps out of respect for a fellow mutineer. Only he knows. Meanwhile, PM met with the White King. He disabled his scepter and gave it to her along with his crown. PM now had the crowns of the White King and Queen and the White Scepter, but discovered she had misplaced the White Queen's ring. Jack's muscle, the hegemonic brute, had been tailing the White King. HB then followed PM and attacked her. She dropped the scepter off a cliff. She would regroup and chop off HB's head with the regisword Jack gave her to kill the White Monarchs. CD, who had been tailing both of them, recovered the White Scepter and delivered it to Jack. Jack used it to initiate the reckoning and would proceed to go on a more extensive rampage, devastating the battlefield in Prospect. Back in the Meteor Lab, John began the ectobiology session, which appeared to have been prepared for him in advance by the Guardians, who had just been there. The 4 monitors were all locked onto the kids' Guardians at certain points in time, each on the day one of the kids' birth. On Jade's birthday, Nana was locked onto in John's neighborhood by the Betty Crocker factory. The meteor carrying baby Jade crashed into the factory and destroyed it. Her grandpa, the owner of that factory, would adopt her. John's dad witnessed and would spend years investigating. On Dave's birthday, Grandpa was locked onto while he was on his yacht, pioneering the island for the first time. He was sailing with baby Jade. Overhead there was a meteor carrying baby Dave, which would crash into Bro's favorite record shop. On Rose's birthday, Bro was locked onto as he stood over the crater where he would find baby Dave. He would give him a tiny pair of pointed shades. Overhead there was a meteor carrying baby Rose, which would land on a lake and destroy it. Rose's mom would retrieve and adopt her. Months later, on John's birthday, Mom would bring Rose to John's neighborhood to investigate the destruction of Grandpa's factory and related stellar phenomena. The target was locked onto her. Dad came out of the family joke shop to greet her, leaving Nana inside. The meteor carrying baby John destroyed the shop, killing Nana. Dad would adopt John, and Rose's mom disappeared. Dad retrieved her scarf and filed the clue away for his ongoing investigation. Now, John attempted unwittingly to purify all four guardians, but since removing them from those moments would have caused a paradox, he instead paradoxified their ghost slime imprints. This slime was collected into two pairs of containers. One pair collected Nana and Grandpa's slimes, the other pair collected Mom and Bro's. The device then created baby paradox clones of the four guardians. These babies would then later be sent back in time to become those guardians themselves. Once those four clones were created, another sequence activated. The two pairs of slime tubes emptied into vats below. The Nana Grandpa slime mixed together, and separately the Mom Bro slime mixed together as well. An additional four paradox clones were created from those two slime concoctions. Baby John and Dave were created from the Nana Grandpa slime. Baby Rose and Dave were created from the Mom Bro slime. These four babies would also go back in time to become the four kids via meteors in the sequence and on the dates listed above. All 8 babies would each ride their own meteors, launched from the Veil after Jack started the reckoning, and into the defense portals deployed by Sky to protect itself. The defense portals each led to Earth, as Sky defends itself, in a way by sacrificing Earth. While most meteors are sent to the time period when the kids began the game, many led to a number of different time periods, some 13 years prior to the game, used by the kids, some nearly a century prior, used by Nana and Grandpa, some millions of years ago, used eventually by the Frog Temple meteor, and some to the far future, used by the exiles. And all 8 of them would travel with an object or animal. John with his Sassacre book, which would become the much older looking family heirloom stored in his dad's safe, with Nana Sprite's inscription to John on it. Rose with the dirty bunny Dave gave John for his birthday. Dave with the pony Maplehoof. Jade with the knit repaired bunny Rose got John for his birthday, which Rose cherished since birth. Nana with Dad's dirty hat. Mom with Mutiny Meowgan. Grandpa with 2 flintlock pistols, which older Grandpa left behind for him in the lab, which would eventually both wind up in Jade's room. And Bro with Dream Cow, which would later be fitted with a new personalized shirt and would become Real Cow, the same doll that would haunt Dave's waking life and consequently his dreams.
That's
You know,
awful.
It's
time
pretty accurate, yeah.
shenanigans. Don't worry about it.
So, do we understand? Like, do we understand what it's saying?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So, to be clear, on the status of gifts, right? Dave
Mhm.
got Dave got John the bunny for his
Yes.
birthday, which then John took with him when he went over there, which then was given to Rose when Rose was a kid.
Yes.
And then Rose then prepared it
Yes.
with knitting and gave it back to gave it back to John for his birthday.
Yeah.
And then John then gave it to baby Jade,
Yes.
which then Jade has.
Yes.
And then
the
Jade
other
and her
thing
pen
is,
pal make it into a robotic cybernetic killing machine.
yeah,
Just
somehow.
gave back to John.
Yes, you do. Next up is Cow, which was Dream Cow, goes back with John, which becomes Real Cow, which then haunts Dave, becoming Dream Cow again.
Yes.
Which is probably why he's so haunting. Because he was
Yes,
a dream.
that is exactly why he is so haunting. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my turn. All these babies and their items would automatically be transported to their own meteors at the onset of the reckoning. John made absolutely sure to give Baby Rose and Jade their bunnies when he saw an opportunity to reenact a scene from one of his own favorite movies, much to the dismay of a watching CG carcinogenesis. While AR was in the Frog Temple lab, he would see more of young Nana and Grandpa's story. On 4/13, 1910, exactly 99 years prior to John's birth, baby Nana's meteor destroyed a bakery owned by Betty Crocker. Nana was adopted by Crocker's husband, Colonel Sassacre, and taken to live in his mansion. 8 days later, Grandpa's meteor destroyed the doghouse belonging to Sassacre's dog, Hallie. Hallie was elsewhere and was unharmed. When Sassacre and Nana went to investigate the crater, Sassacre was shot and killed accidentally with one of Grandpa's pistols. Harley then showed up, who young Grandpa would tend to pronounce Harley due to his speech impediment, and would largely serve as their guardian for the next 13 years, with presumably some parental influence from the wicked Crocker. On his 13th birthday, Grandpa would run off with Harley to find adventure. Nana would stay behind, contend with a batter witch, and master the art of baking, as well as take up her deceased grandfather's tradition of pranksterism. Harley was locked onto by the Frog Temple's equipment. Dee Dee activated the device and produced a paradox clone of Harley, combined with the controversial meow code to create Puppy Beck. The spectacle terrified AR, leaving a major impression on him. He would recognize Beck's silhouette carved on WV's pumpkin years later. The pumpkin commanded his fear and caused him to surrender. Meanwhile, the grown-up versions of Mom and Dad were on board a flying battleship belonging to Grandpa, who piloted toward Skya. Dad gave Mom her long-discarded scarf from the day he lost his mother and found his son. The two guardians traded gestures of affection. Jade remained asleep through it all, trying to stay on the moon as long as she could until she figured out how to wake John up. She talked about this with AT, Eddie's Torador, who revealed he revered his dream life on Prospect more than any aspect of the game, and granted all the trolls' dream selves were now dead. Jay expressed surprise at the notion of dream self-immortality. After, After Jack used the full power of the ring to devastate the battlefield and the two armies, he turned his attention on Prospect, inflicting severe damage the same way. He then cut the chain connecting the moon to Prospect, sending the moon plummeting through the atmosphere of Skia and breaking up in the process. Dream John, still asleep, fell out of his tower and drifted down ahead of the falling moon. Dream Jade flew to intercept him and spent a moment attempting to wake him before the moon's collision was imminent. At the last minute, she flung Dream John out of the blast radius, but was not able to clear the blast herself. She died. The blast left a massive crater on the battlefield. This was the first thing Dream John saw when he woke up. The death of Dream Jade caused her dream bot to malfunction and explode, destroying her room. Still asleep, Jade fell from her tower as Beck watched from a distance. An enormous meteor loomed overhead. Elsewhere on Dave's world, Lohak, Bro dueled with Jack briefly. It was a stalemate until Bro plunged his sword into the large floating record platform they were fighting on. This released a mysterious energy from the cracks, and Bro escaped.
I'll take over.
Rose.
Break Robinson.
Okay.
I like.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll push it off more.
Okay.
Rose completed her final game's FAQs walkthrough entry and used magic to seal it in a server in the furthest ring to be accessed by players in worlds beyond their own. She had destroyed her first gate on a whim and resolved to search for answers to remedy the hopelessness of their doomed session. Meanwhile, Dave entered his first gate, riding into it with his awesome skateboard, Unreal Air. The four exiles arrived on Earth years after its apocalypse, but years before they found their respective command stations. WV wrapped himself in John's dream blanket, which became dirty and unrecognizable over time. He found it along with a Jack-like doll on the battlefield, which formerly sat in the Dream John's bedroom, haunting his dreams. WV ripped it apart. PM wrapped herself in a Prospect banner, which too faded in time. AR wrapped himself in caution tape, using his own supply, as well as some fresh rolls he was lucky enough to discover near the ruined Frog Temple in one of Grandpa's old crates. This was after he escaped the same temple in the medium and found the meteor lab in which John slept. That meteor then took off for Skya via the Reckoning. AR taped John to the rocket board and cast him off before the meteor went through a portal. Thus AR became exiled. WQ exiled herself with an entourage on a royal cruiser and landed on Earth. She departed on a solo quest, leaving her people to their own devices. She discovered her command station, a large egg, broken in two pieces in a large crater, made by Dave's split meteor. She used a key to repair the egg station and teleported to the present location of the exiles, the Frog Ruins at night, 413 years after the apocalypse of Earth. On the battlefield, Dream John found Dream Jade's body. He was sad and confused and took her ring as a keepsake. Later, Grandpa would land his ship on the battlefield, find and recover her body, and use it to create a stuffed trophy as a memorial, as per the proud family tradition. He would depart in his ship and leave Mom and Dad behind. You know, your standard family tradition of stuffing your family members. Nod, nod, nod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the memories.
All the memories. John saw a vision in a cloud directing him where to go. It was a castle where he would rendezvous with PM question mark. PM question mark, after beheading HB, used his radio to summon Jack. He came and she traded the 2 white crowns for the green box. Jade's present to John. He appeared pleased to uphold the bargain, either out of the misunderstanding that he was still under control of its contents, or out of respect for PM's question mark tenacity and brutality in pursuing the prize. Only he knows. PM question mark delivered the package to John and then left, not thrilled by the trials caused by its recovery. John opened it to find letters from Jade and her pen pal, who helped her make the present for him over several years. The gift was the pen pal's idea, and he himself was coerced into the plan by someone else. The box contained a modified version of the stuffed bunny John had received for his birthday twice already. It was the same knit repaired bunny John sent back in time with baby Jade, and she presumably kept it as a cherished childhood toy ever since. It was now upgraded with mechanical parts, fully mobile and autonomous. It was also included with 4 powerful weapons: the Royal D-Ringer, broken sword, the Quills of Echidna, wands, Ahab's crosshairs, a rifle, and the Warhammer of Silihu, a hammer. Each was shrunken down to be bunny-sized. As John mourned Jade's death over her letter, he was interrupted by Jack's sword. Jack was after the ring, but the heavily armed mechanical bunny intervened, recognizing John as its new master. Jack, knowing the danger of the toy, was forced to retreat. Finally, a cloud showed John what he was supposed to do with the ring. It was held by a mysterious black hand. In the far future on Earth, the exiles gathered around Exile Town. WQ asked WV for something. WV revealed he had been storing the complete quad prototyped ring in the sleeve of his trusty knife. It had been there all along, much to Serenity's survive. And then I started working on Act 5. Yay! That is the second Homecoming recap.
We did it, guys.
You did
Yay.
it! You did a good job.
You did a good job.
Yay! Yay! Now you're ready for next Homestuck stream to take Moony through the trolls finally, as they deserve. They earned it.
They did.
Yeah,
They survived.
Yay!
The Midnight Crew. They deserve it.
Thank you everyone for coming to the stream.
Yeah.
I hope you have a good
you,
rest of
guys.
your evening, week, wherever you are in the time zones.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming. Bye-bye now.
Bye now.
Bye.
Oh, I can send you 2 words? Probably not. No, there is not. Okay, everyone have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.